We're going to start off fresh here. Oof. Okay. So, which camera am I? This one? Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Timothy Von Rieden, better known as Vonnart Online, and welcome to my first ever YouTube live video, and I'm joined today by my boyfriend and partner, Josh.
Hello.
He will be helping me mod this today, and I am definitely planning on sticking with YouTube over Twitch. I used to do Twitch on a weekly basis, and it's something that I really like doing Twitch, but it was something that was becoming overwhelming as I started doing more cons and other things outside of that. So I will do YouTube live periodically. It won't be as weekly or as periodic as my Twitch ones were, but definitely something that we want to do more of. And I know even for tomorrow, we're going to do a gold leafing live tutorial. So if any of you are interested in gold leafing, we're going to be doing a full canvas print, and we're going to be doing a canvas or a gold leaf on the spot behind my Demon's Facade drawing because we had an order and we finally got the canvas in. As you can see, we have a new studio. I finally was able to move out of the basement. It's not really new, it's just my roommate, who I love, Tyler, moved out, and we decided that this is going to be my office from now on.
Tim no longer has the windowless, dreary basement. Yeah,
I get real lighting in my room. This is kind of crazy for me. But anyways, I'm very excited about that, and you'll probably see the room change over the next 3 months as I add more plants and as this becomes more of a staple in what I do for a living. Get the mic a little out of the way. And let's see, what else is new? Oh, I added a donation button below, kind of different than Twitch. You don't have to, but if anyone feels like they want to support me, there is a link below. We have our Discord that people can join and a Patreon. Many other links are below, but all that nonsense is not what I want to talk about because I want to go through my sketchbook of 2019, and what I'll be doing is basically pulling each drawing out. I'll probably give a little blurb about how I drew it or what it meant, and move on to the next. I have quite a few drawings that I have to get through, so I definitely won't be lingering on any for too long. And if you guys have any comments or questions along the way, or if you just want to have a conversation outside of what I'm talking about, I'm totally fine with that. That's why I have Josh on board. He'll be helping kind of filter and push the comments live that I want to answer, or that I think I can answer the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. So even things like, I'm even willing to talk about like best movies we saw in 2019, or favorite songs, favorite artists, whatever it is, I'm definitely open to have that conversation.
And I'll try my best with your guys' names too.
Yes, because I know with Twitch, I kind of memorized all the usernames people had on Twitch. So if you're coming from Twitch and you have a new username, just let me know. And I think Josh will have, you might want to make like a little notepad on the side, because we'll start saving if you want to be called something different than what your username is on here. Okay, so let's just get going into this. I'm going to make sure that you guys can see this properly. And I hope you guys are having a good 2020 so far. I'm going to make this smaller.
Alright, so Morgan's Luna Loves.
Oh, hey, Luna Loves. And I'm hoping that when people actually subscribe to my YouTube, we'll get the little GIF and sound clip, because otherwise I just did like a half hour worth of work of me figuring things out for nothing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So none of these are in order either, so I'll have to kind of talk out of chronological order. This was my water pup. I actually did 3 like elemental dogs when the furnace, or no, this wasn't for the furnace breaking. Why did I do these? It was to buy something because something broke.
I'm trying to remember what this was for. It was the...
So many house things have broken this past year.
Was it the TV?
I can't remember exactly, but I remember I needed to raise some money really quickly, so I drew 3 originals that I promised people I wouldn't make as prints and I wouldn't share anywhere else besides on my Instagram and then in my book. So this was the first one. It definitely looks very similar to Vaporeon. I think that's my favorite of the Eevee evolutions besides Espeon, and I could definitely see the influence in the headpiece here. I thought this one was actually really fun. I was on a big mermaid kick at this time. I think this was during the spring. So the tail obviously had some of that mermaid fin element to it that I really like. And I think all 2019 for me was a year of swirls and of like decadence. And you'll see that as I go through a lot of my drawings, how that kind of influenced the end result or like the little details of what I would be doing. So that was my water pup. And for each dog, I try to have every step that they're taking kind of turn into the element that they were representing. So this was my water elemental. Josh is going to be so nice and put away every single drawing.
Oh, man.
If you want, you can put the box like there so that you don't have to...
That big awkwardly.
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Shay? I could wear these gaudy gloves.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, I can't even touch my drawings with my bare... No, actually, I'm not even that pompous. Come on.
Well, I've learned the wrong, bad way is if you have nail polish on. Oh, God.
I've had talks with my best friend, Kat. She is also our assistant for like doing prints and stuff. And I yelled at her once because she wore black nail polish. And every print had like this little black smudge on it. It was because when she was handling the print, she was just dragging her hand just a little bit. That's why I'll never wear nail polish because of that now.
Pocket Watch says you guys only know me for my real name because I'm a commission.
Oh, then you are Amy, I bet. If I had to take a guess out of the blue. Okay, this one is called my Garlic Gatherer. I did two kind of critters. I'm sure the Cherry Collector is also somewhere in this stack of pile over here. And this one I did because I remember I wanted to do something fantasy related and cute because up until this point I was drawing very serious things. And I kind of wanted to remind not only other people, but myself mainly, that I can still do things outside of like a super serious realm. And for me, this was just a cute little critter that I did a poll on what I think he should be collecting, and the winner was garlic. And I personally love garlic. I'm one of those weirdos who, well, I haven't done it in a while, but I used to eat half a clove of garlic every day. It would just be something that I read online about how good it is for you. And I don't know why I stopped doing that.
This is coming from the guy who doesn't like spicy food, but can just have a whole garlic that like melts your freaking face off, but it's fine.
I think because I've conditioned myself to believe that, well, if it's good for you, the pain is good. So I'm like, okay, I can handle some garlic. So yeah, this one was really fun for me, and I liked it. And then his little feather offshoot was actually more of a callback to a game called Eternal Sonata, and the main character, I want to say his name was Allegretto. Ooh, I can't believe I don't even remember how to pronounce it. But he had just a little fantasy outfit with a little a little patch of feathers coming off his shoulder. Oh, so here is the fire pup. And a few of these I should have mentioned are actually prints of the original because these I sold to someone. So we quickly, before the stream started, printed off some of the ones that I didn't have saved just because we no longer have them anymore. Okay, so this was the fire pup. Definitely different than the water one in terms of it doesn't necessarily look like Flareon. I mean, I guess if you wanted like a more realistic version, but this one I wanted the idea of molten rock, kind of like a volcanic rock, how it, like when it pours out of the volcano and then dries, it has these very lumpy looking forms. And that's once again the swirl patterns in the actual body. And I think the challenge for me was trying to make it not read as like a whimsical water, like actually hardened. And I think in some areas it works kind of well. Other areas I think it still looks a little misshapen. So I think I could have fixed this one a little bit more. And then same with the fire. I wish I would have outlined a bit more closer to the body. Like here I think I did a good job with it where it feels like fire, but then it kind of gets lost up here. I almost could have like taken out most of that and it would have been like even that right there looks to me like a better shape. It just looks a little much. And yeah, like I was saying before too, or no, I guess his doesn't turn into fire. But once again, I obviously have my gradations going on like crazy here.
I remember this was the one that you had the most struggle of what you wanted to do with it too, out of the three of them. Because I thought you were going to do stuff, you said you wanted to do stuff in the fire for a while even too.
Yeah, like a shape, yeah.
Yeah.
Or what I should have done is had like some of the flames up here just be really long. So it looks like a mane almost. But I think I got anyways, I could have done more with this one is what I'm trying to say. And then interrupt me if there's a question too that people are having.
Oh yeah. Pocket Watch is Alex.
Oh, okay. Misguessed there. Actually, yours is almost done. You know what? No, I won't. I won't show yours
No
yet.
spoilers.
Yeah, I'll send you an email in the next like 5 days. Okay, so this one was my Earth pup and my Earth elemental. This one was the one I was most proud of, and I mean mainly because the water one did kind of just look like a realistic version of Vaporeon, and the fire one I felt like I jumbled it too much. But this one was me kind of shifting my eye again away from realism. And if you look at even the way I rendered the leaves, it's basically just very sharp outlines or heavy outlining mixed in with like negative rendering. And I liked the result of how this looked because it felt ethereal, but it also felt like it wasn't trying to be realistic at the same time. And I think sometimes I get too obsessed with trying to make something look realistic rendered or shaded. And I think it actually takes away from the overall drawing. So I like that I was able to pull back throughout this piece and keep it that very graphic type of style and rendering. So I actually really like this one. And that is my Earth Elemental.
Kendra was asking, have you ever used a paper like screen film on the iPad?
No. Actually, I should because I didn't want to tell anyone, but I actually broke my iPad. I guess I can spill the beans now. I dropped it outside of a car. It was like a 2-foot drop. It was literally me getting out of the car. It slipped under my arm and it fell. It hit the corner and the whole thing shattered.
And then right down in the face.
It was awful. So only recently did I just get a new one. That's why you haven't, if anyone's following me on Patreon, that's why I haven't been doing any time lapses of my digital pieces because I don't have an iPad, or I didn't have an iPad, but now I do again. So I should actually try the paper filter. If you have a link or if there's one you recommend, if you put it in the comments, I'll have Josh look it up then. Okay, so this is one of my favorite drawings of the year because it was very simple and it led to so many different ideas. But this is my little dirt kid, and man, there's so much I want to talk about him, but there is a YouTube video. I don't know where the links are in here, but I have a whole video on how I created this one. You can watch the creation of him. But then this led into the idea of, well, I guess his story. I'll start with that. I like the idea of every flower, every tree, every piece of foliage that you see outside started as a little dirt kid. And depending on their environment and how they were raised or how much sun they get or how watered they are and wherever they like to travel to, they kind of decide on what type of a plant they will end up being. So then eventually a little bud will start to grow out of their head. And then when the flower becomes too heavy or whatever is on their head, they'll start to sink into the ground and they become rooted to that place, and that's where they end up. So the whole idea is every tree or flower you see started as a dirt kid that decided to live in that area or decided in that one specific place. And this has led to me thinking that this is going to be a fable that's told in my swordplay novel. And I decided to make prints of my dirt kid, but I'm going to do like different variations of him. And I'm going to print it on seed paper. And I think it would be really cool. We just found this company that does seed paper of like carrots or lettuce or herbs or whatever it is. And you can put it in the paper. So I was thinking every dirt kid I did, imagine I had like a dirt kid with a carrot, a little sprout coming out, or a rosemary, or what's a cilantro, whatever it is. And they would look a little different, but if you bought it, you could literally plant it in the ground and it would grow into whatever it was representing. So this to me was such a fun idea that has kind of blossomed into something more. Oh my gosh, my mom's messaging me. How do I get on?
Oh.
Could you actually text her back?
Yeah.
My mom's a very supportive mom. Thank you, Mom. But she is like me. We're not the most technologically savvy, hence why the YouTube video was on the wrong video when we started this. But yeah, so this is going to be into something more, and I'm excited to share what that is in the new year. The second one was a little drawing that I did behind the booth at Spectrum, and this original I sold to J.M. Dragunas. He's another really great artist that I love. He primarily does like ink outlining stuff, and I think it's phenomenal. And we did a original trade, so he really wanted this one, and I grabbed one of his that I now have with me. So this one was more or less just me. This is like comfort zone times 100. It is a simple face. It is horns. There's foliage. It's organic. It's fantasy. To me, this is like the quintessential. If I had to draw with my eyes closed, what would I draw? And what would I feel somewhat comfortable knowing it would turn out at least okay? It would probably be something like this.
Beautiful.
I'm going to do my best to also talk a little faster. Hard for me because I love doing my little monologues, as Josh knows. This was a raven, and this one I did for a beer company called Sandhills Brewing. It is owned by one of my old bosses at CG Cookie, Jonathan Williamson, and he's one of the only people I do freelance for because besides Imagine FX, he's the only company that I do freelance work for, and it's the little beer labels. So this is the raven, and I've done, I want to say, 8 or 9 birds for him, and they're always really fun to do. I learn so much about each bird as I do it because I try to learn a little bit about what I'm drawing. If it's something very specifically from nature, that's like basically a replica of what it is. So it was fun to work with, and I didn't realize how many feathers ravens have, or how many layers of feathers they have. It's like, if you really look at it, it's kind of nuts. So yeah, that was just really fun. I really like drawing the raven. And I learned the big difference between a raven and crow, so that was great. By the way, are there any questions? I feel like I'm like mile a minute talking here.
Let me do a quick catch up. We have Avenue says, what are some subjects you always struggle to draw with drawing?
Sci-fi, hard surface, environments in general. I would say those are the probably big 3 I can think of off the top of my head.
Ultra says, I know this is unrelated, but do you have any tips on portrait studies?
Yes, I will. I could do a whole video on that. Actually, I might have a live stream somewhere on my watch section, but let me do a whole another stream on that, because if I want to give you tips on that, it would be more than just like a minute tip. Okay, let me keep going here. So this was a commission I did for one of my collectors. I normally don't do commissions outside of my December commission list. And he bought my battered bunnies, and he's a really good person, and I decided, it'd be kind of fun to draw Harley because it's not a lot of thinking on my end. I know it sounds kind of bad, but sometimes with fan art, it's more fun because you don't have to think so much on a creative design. It's more of like, how can I interpret this character in my style? And really quick, when I think of Harley, I always think of Jinx from League of Legends, and I think Jinx is like the cooler version of Harley. I know there's probably a lot of people like, blasphemy, but I think Jinx is perfect. I think it built on the character that Harley is, and Jinx is just so much cooler aesthetically, in my opinion. So I took a lot of the reference from Jinx and put it into this Harley. I gave her the double big tails. I gave her this weapon that's not just the big boom hammer. I kind of like the idea of what if it looked like a realistic hammer, and then I just played with the elements of the of being a Harley Quinn, which is a lot of these suit symbols like the diamonds and the hearts. So yeah, I think that's all I had on her. And yeah, she was pretty fun. I did that one relatively quicker than I normally do drawings. This one is called Happiness is a Butterfly. I did this one in Salt Lake City, and this was after my friend Babs Webb, who's another artist that I think you guys should check out. She is like the gothic queen, and she reintroduced me to working with powdered graphite. And this was the drawing that I started on the airplane ride to the convention, and then when she let me borrow it, I actually did a lot of this drawing, obviously with pencil for the tighter areas, but with a brush. I would take my brush, dip it in the powdered graphite, and literally apply it onto some of these shaded areas. And also I did on her skin and some of the hair here, I also did with the brush. So that was definitely a cool experience for me to learn how to use powdered graphite. And there's a drawing somewhere in this mix that really utilized what I learned that weekend.
Kendall says about the Dirt Kid, can't wait for the adorable pin, have the perfect jacket for it.
Oh yeah, I guess we can show that off really quick.
Yeah,
you want to grab the pins?
Yeah.
While he's doing that, this was part of my Drawtober series, so there were 6 of them this year. Oh, There you go.
pin.
So here's a little
There
Dirt Kid
he
pin.
is.
So we officially made him into a little metal pin. We did a run of, 9 enamel Vonnart pins? Or 8?
Yeah.
But we decided not to do any more enamel pins and definitely no more plastic bagging. So we decided to go for an all metal pin with metal clips. And this is the first one, or kind of tester to see if people would like it without color. But I got a lot of good responses of people being like, oh, we actually like it better in the metal. So this is going to be on our Etsy shop late January. So if this is something that interests you, that's coming in late January. Actually, it's the one I'm wearing too.
Then Odraniel asks, what kind of paper do you use? Let me grab the thinker.
Yeah, so I normally work with Strathmore mixed media paper. I would say I think it's a 9x12. Yes. Yeah, so it's this one. And I don't like drawing on normal drawing paper because it will crunch on you. I had so many life drawing papers that when I was working, it would just crunch because I'm one of those people, I drag my hand. And I could talk later about how I don't smudge, but I actually do drag my hand all over the drawing. And I like that this won't crunch it. And I like it being a bit thicker. And the other reason, maybe some of you are wondering, why aren't you showing us your drawings in your sketchbook? Oop, that's a little surprise collab with me and Deandra we never finished. Because about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a sketchbook stolen from me at a convention. And ever since then, whenever I finish a drawing, I rip it out right away and I put it in a separate little storage bin. So my sketchbooks never really have anything in it. And I really like the ring sketchbooks. And if you've ever traveled with a ring sketchbook, you know that the drawings rub on itself because of the travel and the graphite just kind of rubs. Where some of the other sketchbooks that I probably should be using, where it doesn't have the rings, it just stays flat. But for some reason, I really like the rings, so I rip out on my drawings. So I'm one of the most unimpressive people at a convention when I'm drawing. People are like, oh, can I look at your sketchbook? I'm like, sure. There's like maybe one kind of doodle before that drawing. But anyways, so this is my pumpkin glutton. And my idea for this one I had a lot of fun with, but I felt like my execution was kind of iffy. The drawing's way too big, and I spent way too much time over rendering areas that did not need it to be this big. Whenever I plan on the size of a drawing, I kind of know myself and how big I need something to be. And my October was just really rough in terms of what I was creating. I felt like my quality was not the best this year, especially compared to my previous Drawtobers. I felt like this was actually my weakest year. And it kind of hurt knowing that out of the 3-4 years I've been doing an October drawing challenge, that I felt this year was the weakest. So as much as I thought there were some areas that worked well, like some of the talons I thought were great and some of the goop from his tongue, I felt overall this was kind of a missed opportunity, unfortunately.
I mean, your Halloween costume kind of looked like that.
Oh yeah, and then he actually gave inspiration for my Halloween costume, which I don't have a picture of right now, but it was like a giant crow with big googly eyes. I think because I needed to laugh after having such an unsuccessful Drawtober. Or at least for me. Other people were killing it for Drawtober.
Things really quick.
Oh yeah.
At EP says, do you draw from complete imagination?
No. I use reference when I can, especially if I'm using a person. I'll take a photo of myself usually, or of one of my friends. And sometimes, like, even in this drawing, let's say, I would look up, like, pictures of jelly beans or gummy bears or licorice or hard candy. And I don't try to copy it directly. I think you have to take some of it and look at it, be like, okay, well, how does this object react to lighting? Does it reflect it? Does it absorb it? And you can kind of pick up those traits. But a lot of like the weirdness from my drawings is definitely from my imagination, mixed with a lot of Frankensteining of Pinterest boards. I try to look at Pinterest daily just because I think it's a great source of inspiration. But you should never just directly copy. I think you have to take into account your own style, your own taste. And when you're just directly ripping it, you're kind of just using their voice under your name. And I feel like you should be finding your own voice, and that's what will make your art really stand out.
There was the next one. Amy says,
Amy is here. Hello,
have you
Amy.
ever considered adapting some of the drawings into a coloring book?
I've been asked this so many times. Possibly. It's something I'm never going to rule out, but I think a lot of my drawings are so shaded and gradations that it would be harder. But some of my drawings that have more of that very line art heavy, I could see me making a a coloring book of just those drawings. Like, I don't think this one would work very well at all. But yeah, I think some of my other ones. Yeah.
Did you ever get around to get a coal eraser for the powdered graphite? That was from Candor.
No, I haven't worked with powdered graphite since October, so I guess I haven't. You know what? Can you just copy and paste that in a new tab? Because we'll order that one right away too. Because I'm starting to test different products. I put it away, but Black 3.0, I made a video for my Patreons that they can watch it right now on Discord. But I bought the world's blackest black. And I painted my Sora figure. Could you grab that Sora figure?
Oh, yeah.
And then while you're up in the closet door to your right, there's like a box open of cardboard.
Oh, I see it.
I was going to wait until tomorrow or Friday to record this video, but I got another tool from my Instagram notifications. And I'll show you what that is in a second. So I painted Sora from Kingdom Hearts with the blackest black. And I would give it like an 7 or 8 out of 10. I think you can definitely tell, like you can still see that the little areas of detail and the nuances of shape. And I was really expecting a pure silhouette, so I didn't exactly get that. But I have to admit, it is really dark. It does absorb light fairly well, but that's a whole nother video. And the other thing I just want to show really quick is I was able to get the iris. Now, I'm going to probably post the video on Patreon probably Thursday, or probably Friday. But this little tool it's called the Perfect Circle Maker. So essentially you would lay it on your drawing or whatever you're working on, and then you swivel it, and then you can draw a circle with your pencil. And I need this so badly because I'm using things like cups and mugs and caps and bottles and candles to make circles with. Whatever is in my vicinity, I'll work with. Oh, and look at this really gaudy stands it comes with. Like, look at this. I'm going to put this on my desk. Could you, look at that.
Oh, I didn't know it comes with that.
No, I know. I'm like, oh, you guys are so over the top. But I love it. I mean, I might be making fun of it, but only because of how much I love it. So I'll make a review on that and if I think it's worth it and how good the circles, the quality of the circle is. I put that back. Sorry about that. Okay. So for this one, Sweet Temptation, another one of my Drawtober drawings. Like I said, I wasn't fully satisfied with my Drawtober ones. This one I felt like I was overcompensating for not doing as good of a job, so I was just making a bunch of candy to try to make up for the fact that I thought my execution was okay.
That was a really fun stream, though. Everyone got to choose the candy.
That is true.
Yeah, that was a fun stream.
That's right, because I actually streamed for October after I quit Twitch. I asked suggestions of what people would want to see in the bottom jars, and they would recommend candy. And they gave me some really interesting candy. Oh, yeah, maybe I have started unwrapping those too soon.
Oh, yeah. Good job.
This one I called The Catch, and this was, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but essentially the idea is people say there's plenty of fish in the ocean, and I've been single for 28, almost 29 years of my life. And I finally got done with fishing. I thought I was going to be alone forever. Not in like a lonely way, but just I feel very self-sufficient manner. I just feel like I could live my life alone. And then I found Josh and we made it work. And I felt like this fish that I found, I'm going to take the most care of. I'm never letting this thing go. I don't think this fish realizes how precious I think it is. So this one definitely meant a lot when I drew it, and I gifted it to Josh for our 1-year anniversary.
You definitely won some points with my friends with that post, too.
Was I losing points before the post?
It was like a big jump, though. It was like, you were going steady, but it was a jump up.
Am I learning things? Like, do your friends not like me? Oh, no.
No, it made my coworker cried about it at the time. She was like,
really?
that was the sweetest thing I think I've ever seen. Was that post? Yeah. I mean, I cried a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I was feeling kind of down. And whenever everyone's like, oh, you'll find someone eventually, it's like, I've been looking for a long time. So the whole idea was like you gave up fishing and you come back, you dock your boat for the last time, you anchor it up. And then on the way, walking back to your house, like in a tide pool, I imagined this little fish. And I'm like, oh my God. And I go down and I scoop it up. And I'm like, this is my treasure for the rest of my life. So yeah, that was that drawing. This one I can go through quickly. Harry is a character in my my novel Swordplay, and he is kind of a minor character, and he is Nate's childhood best friend. Nate is one of my characters that I finished his story of. I'll show you that later. And I just needed to draw some concepts of what he would look like, what his outfit would look like, and doing some like quick sketches helps me decide what a character will look like and kind of figure out how would they interact. So yeah, so speaking of that, here's my character Nate. I was at a convention and I was at Anime Central, and my friend Joyce gave me her enamel eye pins that I still have, and I bought this sweater from Omocat. Actually, I have the sweater. Oh, I totally forgot that this was the same one. So you can kind of see the similar. Wait, where's the camera? There it is. So you can kind of see I did like a really quick rough sketch, but I was gonna do a full render of this. I decided not to and just kept it more simple, and it was just fun. I imagine if Nate went to a convention, he bought like Pikachu hat, he's eating Pocky, the whole shebang. And then here's Nate and Harry. This was kind of my, I want to say one of the first drawings I did of 2019. And I had a lot of fun with this because there was a lot of gradations, there was a lot of detailing, pockets of like even the veins on Nate's arm. I felt really good about the way that I rendered a lot of this, and this was supposed to be kind of showing that there's a lot of feelings between these two characters, but they never quite connected all the way. So that was their story.
I feel like these are gonna be really annoying to open up. I can go in the other room quick and do it.
And try to like blast through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to ask me some questions before
let's
you
get
go
some
then?
questions. Yeah, because that's going to be annoying.
So we have a lot of originals that we packed, and we forgot to unpack them before the stream, mostly because I forgot that a lot of the drawings that I did last year we made available for purchase at con. So they're still in their little wrapping, so Josh has to undo them.
So Rachel says, can't wait for your Kickstarter book to come through. I love how you take graphite into fine fantasy art. Do you ever go darker, as in deeper B?
Yeah, I have a 9B. For some of my drawings, I'll actually edge out the drawing with a 9B pencil. But most of my drawings are like 2H and HB for, I would say, 80% of it.
Alex says, oh God, how is it clean? I'm guessing a reference to the graphite, because I use graphite and it looks like a mess.
Oh my gosh, I feel like you're a Libra.
Yeah, you got it.
I am a Libra.
Tim's a complete Libra. Matthew also says, and Josh is a Virgo.
Close.
I'm actually a Gemini.
He's nuts.
I don't know. I don't know if I completely relate to Gemini. There was actually a couple more though. Kendra says, I use a hard-covered ring sketchbook and it doesn't rub as much as, and I never have problems with that at least.
Yep, hard covers won't rub as much either.
And then Kendra sent a metal grip Orens.
Yes, so those are the 0.2 mechanical pencils I use.
Yeah.
So now they make like a metal one.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm very curious to try that one.
I'll do one more.
Okay.
Nathan says, have you ever tried water-soluble graphite?
Yes. I worked with Alan Williams when I did the One Fantastic workshop 2 years ago, and he taught me how to work with wet graphite. And it's very intriguing to me, but the process is so strange and foreign that I would probably have to work with it more, but it's very messy. And at the time I was working in the basement and it was basically winter, so I was like, I don't want to have to go in my garage just so I can work with wet graphite. But I could see myself playing with it again in the future. Definitely powdered graphite I found kind of a love for. In some ways, I feel like it's still really messy and I'm still not fully controlling it. But I think that's kind of the point of powdered graphite, so we'll see. All right, if you want to go do that, I can run through these pretty fine. Okay, so these were just some fish profiles I did. Nothing big here. Don't need to talk about that one. These were sketches I did while watching the Met Gala this year. The theme was camp, and I had a lot of fun watching everyone come out. People always ask me what's my biggest inspirations, and I always say I try to watch new film every day. So films, video games, fashion. In this case, the Met Gala is a big fashion night. It's like the Super Bowl for fashion. And other people, other artists specifically. So sometimes when I'm doing these quick sketches, I'll try to find what I find intriguing, and I'll make like a little collage out of it. This drawing I did for Pride this past year, and it was me shaking my roommate's hand, Tyler, and I just did like a quick picture. And it was to kind of acknowledge the people in my life that are straight, and how comfortable they made the transition of me coming out was, and how much I want to just thank them for not making it weird or changing our friendship afterwards. Because I think a lot of straight people get a lot of hate from, or not, I shouldn't say hate, but definitely straight white men specifically get kind of targeted a lot as a group of hate. But at least the ones that I have had in my life, they were such a comfort, and it made it so nice for me to come out that I wanted to acknowledge them and make them feel loved. So yeah, that was that drawing. Oh yes, so these next four, my little storybook outlines, these are going to be in the new sketchbook, which I promise they're being made. There was a really big delay that happened because I had to rework some of the pages, so that had to change not only the book, but then the slipcase that I'm making for 3 of the sketchbooks to fit in comfortably, and it created this really bad delay. So it's happening, but slowly. I'll keep you guys updated if you backed me on there. But for each of these, I wanted to do a companion piece to a drawing that I did, and the victim's this bird that I drew in a cage. So I tried to pull elements from the drawing and put them in this kind of storybook outline, and then I hand wrote in Photoshop the actual stories. So I did one for the victim, my little Frankenstein that I drew 2 years ago. He got a little like stitched one. My fungus collector. So once again, I got to draw mushrooms, which are so fun and easy to draw. And then my merman Tristan. I got like a nice little outline for him as well, and how important the conch was. So these were kind of fun for me to like have familiar themes, like a line under the name, one big letter, and everything had an element on the bottom that represented something. So yeah, that was kind of fun for me to do. And and the collector. I can't believe I forgot one almost. And his had so much detail on the drawing that I tried to have the story page to be more simple to kind of complement it. This next one was a collaboration I did with Aria Fawn. I do a lot of collaborations, if you can't tell. And this one is, it's meaningful for me. I think we both agreed that we can do better on our next one, because I think we're just so excited to work with each other. But I love her as, not only as an artist, but as a person. I think she is genuinely sweet. She has good intentions. She's helped me a lot in understanding things on the vegan side, because she cooks a lot of vegan food, so me asking questions, he's more than willing to help me out with things. And yeah, I like how this one turned out, but it definitely is a little jumbled, and I think when we attack it next time, we'll keep it a little more streamlined and have a more solid idea going into it, because this was more us just kind of throwing aesthetics together and seeing what comes out, which can turn out really good. This was just a quick sketch I did. I think I was on an airplane. I was just really quick sketching masks. Nothing really big there. This one I did for a tutorial on drawing. I think this was for ImagineFX. But starting with a lighter pencil and ending dark. So if you can't tell, I actually erased on the 6B because I started with a 2H, wrote 2H, took a picture, scanned it, and then did HB, then 2B, and 6B, and each time I just added to the same drawing. I think that's the difference with traditional versus digital. You can kind of just, grab layers and duplicate them, but with traditional, unless if you're scanning and printing them side by side, you're going to have just one final image. Oh, good job. Well, that was quick.
I'm back.
So this one, actually, Candor, that was Tristan's side page. I forgot that you were watching here. So yeah. This one I did when I turned 30, and I had, it wasn't a dream, but I was just thinking when I was in bed one day about every 10 years, or basically every year, but I didn't want to draw 30 different doors. But it was like you like shed the person that you were, and you can go further down your life path. And each time you go down, so for me, this represented when I was born, 10 years old, 20, and then 30, and how that door is finally starting to open for me. And how there's things that gets left behind. If I wasn't so frantic trying to get Drawtober things together, I probably would have made some things more distinguishable, like my yellow Game Boy or my Pikachu. Actually, I did a little, you can kind of see Pikachu there. But the idea was you have all these things that mean something to you. They're like mementos. And They're in this memory storage bank that we have, and they mean so much to us. But oftentimes, as we're walking, we forget about those mementos. And I think that's why a lot of people, including myself, sometimes we have things that meant a lot to us when we were younger, and we hold on to them. And that was kind of what I was trying to represent here. And here's some of the pumpkin sketches I did before I did the official pumpkins for Drawtober. This one I did about 2 months before Drawtober began. And weirdly enough, I like this drawing more than all my Drawtober drawings combined. I think this one for me encapsulates my spirit when I think of Halloween. I think it's fun, I think it's spooky, and I think it is... Actually, no, just those. It's fun and spooky. When I think of Halloween, that's what I think of.
This is you bringing in the Halloween bins upstairs?
Yeah, all 9 of them.
All 9 of them.
Yeah. I like the idea that this little guy, he runs around in September with his spook wand, and out of it comes ghosts, and he's like telling everyone that October's coming and that he's bringing fall with him. So that was, to me, the idea behind this character, and it was just a joy to work on. Because originally, this was just supposed to be a pumpkin sketch, and kind of like the ones I just did, I wasn't even imagining this to be a jack-o'-lantern, and then I drew a face on it, and I started drawing more and more and more, and then the story started unfolding. So this was really fun for me. Here is the powdered graphite one. Let me see if I can angle it. Maybe like, it's kind of hard to angle this one because graphite's so reflective. But this one I did in like an hour and a half one night. We were watching a movie and I just whipped it out. And basically I just used the eraser for all of the drawing. And this one was probably one of the most intuitive drawings I've done, not only last year, but in the last few years. Because I was like nonstop, I wasn't questioning myself. I thought this was like a throwaway piece. So I was like, regardless of how it turns out, I don't care. I'm just having fun working with powdered graphite. And when we were watching the movie, it was such a dimly lit room that it was hard to even see what I was drawing. So to me, this one holds a place in my heart just for the process of creating it was special for me. Here were some thumbnails I did in a car of a little bat holding what was this at the time? Oh no, originally it was a cherry. So you can't really see it, but I was going to draw this little bat. It kind of looks like the bat from Anastasia, where it had just like really, really big ears and a very pronounced upward nose. I forgot what those bats are called, but that's what I was doing. And then that led into me drawing this guy. And I changed it into a match because I was in the car ride going to downtown Cedarburg in Wisconsin. We were with our friends Carrie and Joy, and when I was there, I bought a glass bottle of tall black matches, and I like the idea of him holding this black match being very kind of like the Fallbringer. Maybe that's what I was so excited drawing the Fallbringer that this just kind of echoed it. I just wanted him like running with something, so he was like playing with fire. So yeah, that one I had a lot of fun on this one.
Just imagine this tiny little bat just running with this little match.
Just like...
Let's do a quick catch-up.
Oh yeah, quick catch-up.
All right, let's see.
How about on the catch-ups we'll do like 2. That way we can keep this going.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know why it went all the way down. All right. So Galaxera says, hello, don't know if you've answered, but what are your favorite art supplies to use for pencil sketches?
Yeah, I guess I can show that really quick. Hold on. I use my Etcher pencil case, but the ones that I use most are the Stradler pencils, the General Kimberly's, and I mean, this one I use for show, but it actually works really well. So I try not to use it too much because I actually like using it for photos. And here it is, the 0.2 mechanical pencil for when I finish things off. So most of my drawings usually are traditional, unless if I'm in a car or in a plane, I'll use a mechanical pencil. And then for erasing, I use a Mono Zero, the circle tip, and a kneaded eraser. And I recently bought like 55 kneaded erasers because I won second place in a contest. And I told myself I'm only entering for the fact that if I win any prize money, I would only buy kneaded erasers. So yeah. Oh, and then pencil sharpeners, I use the dual tip. It's a Cume, whatever you want to pronounce it. Automatic long point pencil sharpener. So yeah.
Alex says, oh, I should ask something. Do you ever play with extreme expressions?
No. I probably should. It's probably one of my weak points. I always give like the very distant, vacant, like 1,000-yard stare.
Or what are extreme expressions? Is that like? Oh, okay.
Like
that's the first one you default to.
I don't know why that was my first one, but yeah, just like I don't know why I have to make sound effects when I do. But yeah, like just either super angry, yelling, crying. There's like
Gotcha.
things like that. So yeah, not usually, no. Anyways, this was another one of my Drawtober drawings. This was the first one, Witch's Garden. I was actually really proud of the idea and concept behind it. I just felt like I could have done more on the witch itself. I like the area around it. I like how I did the flowers. I like my little hidden things of my black and white rabbit. And then actually I hid another little Easter egg. There's a dirt kid hanging on the pumpkin stem down here. Like I said, he's going to be popping up more in my art and future drawings, but I actually thought I could have done more with his character. I thought it would be cool to have the contrast of like heavy detail with the negative space just heavily front and center, but I actually felt like I could have done more.
Did you point out Dirt Kid?
Yep.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
This one was probably the one I was most proud of in all of my Drawtober drawings, just because this was another one of those where it felt intuitive, and I didn't care if it looked ugly. I think it would have been really easy for me to draw like a really pretty woof and just, with like flowers around it, but I was just not in the mood to draw something subjectively pretty. So I want to draw this like really weird looking woof that's like mesmerized by wolfsbane, the flower, and I wanted to draw the scent of the flower coming off of like little skulls. And yeah, I don't know. This one to me was the one I enjoyed the most, just because I wasn't caring as much. I find that when I'm just letting myself draw a picture organically, it usually, I don't know, it stems better with me in the end.
Kendra says, to copy traditional, a light box also works great. Kendra says, also, and yes, about Tristan, I'm too excited for him to arrive.
Mm-hmm. And then for this one, I actually do like my moth girl on some areas. Like I like her, like this area. I felt like for her leg, I kind of just played off what I knew would be kind of cool. And I don't know. There's another one where like swirls was one of my reoccurring themes, but I was just not digging this one as much. And I thought I was going to really enjoy the end result of this one, but overall I was like, it was okay. I think I made it look pretty through the way I render it, but I feel like it does look like a bunch of things kind of jumbled, or not, just kind of like stitched together. And I don't mean to down talk my own work, because I think you should be proud of what you work on some level, and you should just be self-deprecating all the time. But I'm kind of self-aware enough where I kind of know when a drawing didn't feel the greatest for me. And all of Drawtober, I think because we were so busy with not only getting ready for a potential party, but at that time I was offered to possibly be on a Food Network show for carving pumpkins. So I was like getting all worked up trying to get that. And we went to New York Comic-Con last minute. It was like we got on off the wait list a month prior. So there was just a lot going on, and I wanted to enjoy October because I haven't enjoyed it this much. Anyways.
I feel like you weren't able to like you wanted to, but
we had pockets like going out with Ange and Zach to that haunted trail.
Oh yeah.
Like we did some things where I'm like, yeah, that to me is having fun in October. But I want to do more of it. So this year I will definitely have fun with it. And I think I just gotta learn to be okay with a drawing not being perfect, which is like the point of Inktober and Drawoween and Drawtober. Like it's okay if things don't come out perfectly. So this drawing I started on the airplane to the One Fantastic Workshop this year. And the reason I enjoyed this one so much, or at least the next few drawings, is because I was so disappointed in myself in October that when I didn't get into the Food Network show because I was too inexperienced, and I actually kind of agree with them, I wanted to prove myself that I was a better artist than what I was giving myself credit for. And even though this is a very simple drawing, it was just pushing myself to be able to draw quickly and just not care about how nonsensical it is. So like adding in elements, having areas of the hair that I just leave a complete blank shape. And I remembered why I like doing art and taking risks. So to me, this was a reminder to take risks while I do art.
Katie just asked, can you give any tips for beginner artists?
Yes. I have so many tips I could give beginner artists, but let me think of 3 ones that I think are really helpful right now. 1, don't let social media dictate what you draw or how good you are. I had a painter friend tell me to paint and draw as long as you can without recognizing if it's good or not, and that'll help. The second one is to draw often, every day if you can. They say that you have to do 10,000 crappy drawings before you start doing good ones, so you might as well start doing it now. And then the third one is to be patient. I think at least artists that I've been running into more and more, because of the way we've been programmed with social media like Instagram and Twitter, we want to pump things out really quickly. And I've been trying to remind artists, especially not only my friend group, but younger ones, that it's okay if a drawing takes you a long time. I feel like that's so discouraged nowadays. But if you look at the masters of yesteryear, sometimes a painting would take a year, especially a big one if it was in a cathedral. It would take a long time, and there were big commissions. And it's okay to take your time with a piece. You don't have to feel like you have to produce 1,000 drawings every year. But what I was just saying before, though, you should be drawing consistently. And if you have a big painting or drawing that you're working on, maybe every day you do like a warm-up sketch, or you do something where you're still adding to the number of drawings you're doing. That way you don't feel pressured to do really big ones all the time, but maybe have like a big one on your main burner and then a few smaller ones on your back burners. Is there one more that we got, or?
Oh yeah, Tash says, how did you make the glow for the lamp on the Fallbringer?
So on the Fallbringer one, basically the area around the circle of the lamp, I shade very lightly with a 2H pencil, and then the area within the lamp circle, I keep lighter. So you can actually see, maybe if I can pull it closer, kind of. I use like a really light 2H pencil shading technique, and then outside of it I purposely make it darker. And the one thing that I try to do is I try not to just outline it with a heavy outline. I try to have it be more of a natural glow, but it's still not natural because a glow fades more into like a gradation, but I wanted a kind of a line edge, but without having a direct line, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so this one I did in December, and this was once again coming off of my horrible October feeling, and I just wanted to draw something ethereal. I didn't care if it didn't make sense logically. I wanted to add areas of, like, this moon was kind of a nod to me being silly, and I think the front of her face is where I started, because I actually started this when my cousins came over. We started playing a game of Catan, and I had my sketchbook open. And I was like, I want to be productive while still kicking ass in Catan. And I didn't kick ass in Catan that night. I actually did kind of bad. But I actually felt really good about the drawing I did, so it kind of made up for it. And then I finished this one off, which is a ridiculous veil. I feel like the end of my year became more as grossly decadent as I could make things, and you'll see that with 2 of my other drawings in this patch. So this one I actually really liked. It kind of was a callback to me poking fun at myself just drawing a pretty girl with horns, and I don't know. I was having fun with it while still kind of enjoying the rendering process that I normally do. These I did when we were at a coffee house, and I just wanted to be really weird. That was kind of the goal of it, and like me doing these babies with these skulls, and like this one found an acorn. This one's just showing off I don't know what, just being himself. And I just remember looking at a Jeremy Bastian sketchbook that I got in New York, and just remembering how empowering it felt as an artist to draw something new, draw something that no one's ever seen before. And that's something that I feel like I have to remind myself of often. And here was the next page where I took that character and tried something else with it, drew another one of the babies. And then this actually became something which is somewhere in this pile, but I'll call back to it. And then this drawing was, could you pull the one
Was it in here?
under that one? It was kind of like my thumbnail for the drawing. Yep, that's the one. You can see how I started with the skull. It had that same kind of effect. I actually like the thumbnail better, if I was honest. But this was kind of the way... A lot of the times when I work, I'll do like little small thumbnail gesture drawings and I'll make it into something bigger. But there have been so many times where I actually like the thumbnail better just because of the mark making and how much energy the initial draft had. So yeah. We can keep these on the side though because I want to reference this when we pull out the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This was for a slipcase that I'm making for my sketchbooks. Basically, I just printed off a drawing that I did before in the square, and then I had to make a frame for it. I didn't want to make it just a Renaissance-looking ornate frame. I kind of wanted to make it my own little weird, asymmetrical, gaudy frame. So this is what came out, and actually, I like it. I like that one.
Fem says, I love how it almost sounds like Tim says woof instead of wolf.
That's because that's how I say it. I know there's a lot of words I say wrong because of my accent. This one I'm going to go over very quickly because this one generated a lot of negative feedback. I learned that not everyone likes Strata, so that's all I'm going to say about that one. This was I started this one before I went to the workshop. I worked on it at the workshop and I finished it in December. To me, this was the embodiment of what I wanted to create after my Drawtober mess. It's gaudy, it's muka, it's fantasy, it is strange, it's inviting, it's intriguing. To me, this is exactly the type of piece I wanted to create. And a lot of the times, like, I assume that people will think I'll only create this type of art then, but sometimes I'll have these intuition directions and I'll go that route for a while, then eventually I get kind of bored and then I'll go a different route. And I feel like that's how my art career has always been. So right now I'm in a very like decadent, gaudy realm, but I know I won't be in this forever. So this was a good example of what I'm in right now, and I really enjoyed that drawing. I really like that one.
I mean,
and what's funny is I used to have a giant spikes coming out of the halo. It was originally because when we went to House on the Rock in Wisconsin, they have these music rooms, and in one of them they had a bunch of these saints with these really spiky gold back headdresses, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to incorporate that in this drawing, but I ended up not liking it, and I erased it. And I think this serves as another example of if there's something in your art you don't like, you don't have to keep it. You know, you have an eraser. And I know sometimes with traditional it's harder than with digital where you could just Control Z or Command Z. And with pencil, though, I still believe that if something's bothering you in your work, you should fix it right away.
And it turned out a lot better even. Because I remember with the spikes what it looked like.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it looks better without the spikes. This was my little drawing I did on Christmas of Astrid, our cat. Just her coming with her little present. I totally ripped off the artist. I can't say her last name, but I believe her first name's Yoko. I will link it somewhere on Discord. But essentially, she draws cats with these very like soft, round features. And I wanted to carry that over into Astrid. So yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yes, these were my life drawing sketches that I did, and I haven't done life drawing in a long time. So my roommate Tyler came up, and I found out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they do these life drawing sessions every other week. So I plan on doing them more. So if you're in the area, if you stop by, you'll actually see me. The gallery is called I want to say it's the Dueling Galleries or something like. Oh, I should know this off the top of my head. Oh, I'm sorry. It's something like that, but if you just Google Milwaukee life drawing, you'll find it. I really liked my first sketch. I brought colored pencils because I was not only challenging myself with doing life drawing after not doing it for about 1.5 years, 2 years, but I was like, I'm going to bring colored pencils to give myself an extra challenge. And the first one I thought I did a really good job with. The second one I was like, oh, that was horrible. You can see like how long the legs were. And I was like, I'm just going to cover that up with blue and try to make that look natural. And then I didn't like this one at all either. These were a 5-minute. This was a 10-minute. This is the one where I was like, okay, going back to the traditional rendering ways of doing shadows and light, where you make the darkest part of the shadow where it meets the light, and it creates this very rounded effect. And this one I really liked. This one was okay. I really like the arm I did, but I feel like I should have spent more time on the head and the back. But you can kind of see all the like dimples and nuances that I gave in. That's what I was really trying to focus with this life drawing session because I felt I was missing that in my own work. This was the one I enjoyed the most because when she laid down, she put her hip in a position where it just like shot straight up. And as an artist, that's a really interesting point of interest to create. And I had a lot of fun working on that. And then the suppleness around her navel, I tried to do with like a heavier shadow. So there were, I feel like, little things that I noticed as I was drawing them that I normally don't do. But seeing the life drawing or the live model in front of me, it really made me realize how I could render things slightly different. And that's why I think every artist that does character work or draws people should do life drawing at least like a couple times a year. And that's what I'm trying to do with 2020 is I'll be there probably like once a month. I don't think I'll go every time, but like once a month.
That was when they gave you the longest time with, right?
No, this was 20 and then this was, oh, you know what? No, these were both 20.
Those are the 220.
That's why me and Tyler were upset because we were told that we were going to have longer sessions because someone came with oils. Or no, they came with acrylics. And they were like, oh, we'll do longer poses because someone here is with paint. And then a 20-minute pose to me is not a long pose. To me, it's like a 2-hour pose would be considered a long pose. This was the last one I did for December, and kind of going off my Star Boy, this one I call the Gaudy God, or the God of God, gaudiness. And with this one, I wanted to once again encapsulate all the ridiculous elements of decadence and fabrics and silk, and I just wanted it to be ridiculous. And I think that kind of summed up how I was feeling at the end of last year, where I really wasn't enjoying my October. So my November, December was really focused on having fun with art. And this was another one of those of just having fun. I just letting go, letting loose, not caring about how ridiculous it is. I'm kind of like poking fun at myself, even in this drawing, of adding like 3 halos, spikes, symbols, stars, veils, dramatic veils, really, really long fantasy hair, all this wardrobe nonsense that is just hanging and dripping off of him. And once again, the vacant face. So I'm kind of poking fun at myself, but I think it's good to be able to laugh at yourself. Sorry, are there any comments? I'm like going like crazy.
Brandy says, sorry, this is probably a dumb question, but how do I go about making a slipcase?
Whew. So to make a slipcase, usually you have to make a book first, and the people that you make a book with will give you the option on if they can make a slipcase. I work with a company called On the Mark, so they can make slipcases. I love them in terms of their quality, but if you work with them, you need to know right now they're very, very slow. They are backed up, and they basically have a really long line, and when you're all finished, you might send them the files, but that only puts you in line. And you have to wait until it's your turn for the books to then be made. And then still it takes about 2 months for them to ship it to you. So it is 2 to 3 months, really, after you get it even in the first position. So that could be a month and a half, 2 months after you send them the files. So I love them, but that's the only place I know of personally where to get a slipcase from. And then they'll usually send you the dimensions of what you need.
There's a little fuzzy on it.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
So this is technically the largest drawing I did this past year. This is my Wood & Youth 4. I do the Wood & Youth every June, so I'll have to do a new one in this June. And originally I was going to do something really simple because last year I did the most elaborate drawing I've ever done with my Wood & Youth 3, and he was surrounded by about 200 animals. And a lot of those, though, were clams and lobsters and things that were a little easier for me to draw. But I did have to draw 1 cow, 1 turkey, 1 pig, 27 chicken, 40 fish, 130 shellfish. And it was all in one drawing. So for 2019, I was like, I'm going to keep it simpler. But then it just grew and grew and grew. And this was supposed to be, my whole reason I draw my Wood & Youth is to commemorate when I went vegetarian. And then 2 years ago, I went vegan. So I wanted to draw that drawing with all the animals to show on average how many animals die for an American per year on average. And this year I wanted it to be kind of against the dairy industry because I'm not the biggest fans of them. And it was to show all these calves who never got to know their moms, who I wanted to make kind of look like these shadow ghosts of their former selves. And I knew when I was drawing this that I wanted there to be this slit going around their neck and blood to be pouring upwards. And then halfway through, I decided I was going to make the blood gold. So it created this very ethereal look of the gold blood dripping upwards from the cows. And from his heart, I wanted it like dripping gold out too, because he was hurting so heavily for the cows. He hurts for the cows. And I thought for sure this would not be a very well-liked drawing and or print, because it is more... I mean, one, it's definitely very like in your face, like here's my stance on things and I believe in this. And sometimes that can get annoying. And it's very graphic in nature. I mean, it's, you know, cows with their necks slit open. I don't show gore, but I mean, that's still somewhat, you know, suggestive. But it turned out being one of my best-selling prints at one of the Anime Midwest. And I was like, why would someone want to hang this on their wall? And a lot of them were like, oh, we just really like cows. And I was like, I guess if you want cows with their necks slit open to represent you liking cows, I mean, I kind of understand the message, but that one was interesting.
Condensator says, do you spray your artworks with fixative?
Yes, so all of these have a matte fixative on them. Good question. And that's why I'm handling them so loosely and I can kind of rub it.
Do you want me to go grab it just to show?
Oh yeah, so it's in the basement on the shelf.
Okay. Yeah, I know, because I know you're cleaning over there.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, if any of you work with graphite, whenever you finish a drawing, it's really easy to basically hold it out about a foot in front of your the can or the hand that you're holding the can in. You spray it really lightly, and then you're done. You don't have to do more than like a light breeze. And this was the second little critter drawing that I did. And this one was more silly because I drew this for Josh when he had his full-time job working as a life insurance worker.
Oh, yeah. Where it can be the pit. But with the right attitude, it can be cherry, enjoyable.
I wish I would have came up with a better pun. That's such a weak one. But I liked how it came out. And,
it's your corniness. I love it.
But I feel like I'm usually more clever than that. That's like, can we just... I should have just said work can be the pits. I should have just left it at that. But I asked Josh what kind of animal would he have wanted. And did I ask you about the fruit too?
This was the... Well, yeah, because I think you did the cherry or garlic. You gave him the option. Everyone voted garlic, but I really wanted cherry. So I was like, you're going to do both of them, Jim. Come on.
And is this an otter?
Yeah, you did it. I wanted the otter.
Why
the
do
otter,
I not even know what I drew?
It was the otter and sea lion mix.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't look fully like an otter. That's right, because the mouth is more sea lion.
And you nailed it.
So this is the fixative. Thank you, Josh, for grabbing this. I wonder if it's easier to see. Well, the light's so light in here now. But yeah, this is the fixative. You can get this at any craft store, really. And it seals your graphite. This was actually not from this year.
Oh, yes.
So could you hand me... We're down to one more stack, and then I get to show you the swordplay ones. And thank you guys for coming to the stream. I feel like it's just a lot of me talking. And these type of streams always feel weird because I feel like I'm not teaching anything. I'm just kind of showing off my drawings of the last year. But if you enjoy these, I can do these every year if you want. I feel like we could do this every year. This is such an easy stream to do.
Well, it's fun.
It's fun for me to like recap what I did in the year and be like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what I was doing at that time. Or, oh yeah, that's why I went in that direction.
Well, I was going to say there's so many memories around them because, yeah, there's things going on while you're working on them.
I mean, for me personally, November and December were by far the best months for me in terms of what I was drawing and how I was feeling drawing them. This is, I believe I did this either late November or early December. Or no, this was September. This was before we went to New York. It had to have been.
Yeah.
This to me was like I was dipping in the pool of gaudiness, and I actually did the sketch of this one the same day I did the sketch of my Starboy one, and I think it's because that's where my mind wanted to be, but Drawtober ended up being like a distraction for me, as awful as it sounds for me to say that out loud. But I wanted to do more of these type of drawings. Hold on, I need a sip of water. I'm talking way too much. Much better. And I wanted to go more in this direction, but I think because of everything else that was going on, I wasn't allowed to. So I finished this drawing relatively quickly, and I remember I wanted it to be ridiculous, I wanted it to be nonsensical, to me, this is one of my favorite drawings of the year for sure. It felt intuitive. I didn't care if it was nonsensical. I gave her a bubble wand. I wanted it to feel dreamlike, but also whimsical on a lot of levels. And then this was originally all done because Alan Williams, my art hero, did a really strange looking star drawing in one of his pieces. And I decided I was going to do a little study of it. And that study ended up to me having a hand holding it. And then that led to this arm. And then I drew a mask. And it just grew from there. And to me, those are my favorite types of art, when it just kind of grows organically. Sorry, is there some... I know,
let me see, because there was a couple fixative.
Oh, hope you have a nice day too.
Candor went to bed at 6 a.m. So
Yeah.
Makes sense if you're up all night. Alex says I love his little golf hat with the little
the cherry collector.
Yeah.
Yeah, his little paperboy hat.
There was something. Hang on. Yeah, and if you guys see their tag at Vonnart or my name, Joshua Hamfree, that helps a little bit because I can weed them out a little bit quicker.
Yeah, so it does highlight it just like Twitch.
Yeah. But I like any books you would recommend for beginners. That's from Cosmin.
Ooh, oh god, there's so many. If I had to give just off the cuff, Color and Light by James Gurney, I think is great for people wanting to learn more about color work. The Muka book that I have, I really like. I think but that's more, I guess, taste. Honestly, I would follow whichever direction your heart's kind of going in. I would follow more that direction. So if you want to draw more characters, I would study anatomy through Proco. I think he's a great YouTube tutorial. Most of his stuff's free online. You can watch it here. Bobby Chu has a lot of great tutorials for beginners. A lot of it is just experimenting with trial and error. And I think a lot of the best art comes from you just going for it, taking your taste into account, taking your experiences into account, and just seeing what comes out of it, and then editing and repeating and rinsing that process over and over and over again. And I really do think, if there's anything I would say though, focus on the fundamentals of value. Really try to understand what value is and how to work it. Anatomy. It doesn't have to be to the point where you can name every muscle, because I definitely cannot, not even close. But at least understanding visually when something looks wrong and how to fix that, and where like the nuances are in, and especially with like hands, draw a lot of hands. People always say, oh, you draw so many good hands, you must be a really good artist. I'm like, no, I just drew a lot of them. Like, to get good at drawing hands, just draw a lot of them. And I think that rings true for a lot of subject matters. If you want to get good at it, environments, people, just draw a lot of it. And be self-critical. Like, look at your piece, analyze it in a realistic manner. I think if you're just patting yourself on the back for everything you do, that's not going to get you very far. But if you look at it and you're critical of what can I do better, where do I think my mistakes were, but also acknowledge, here's where something went right. I really like the values I pushed in this area. The composition works well. Like in this one, I really like the values I put into it. I like the composition. I like the swirliness. I like her face being more vacant looking compared to all the detail stuff around her. So there's a lot that you can also compliment yourself on, but there has to be a balance. You don't want to just over compliment yourself, because then you won't grow as an artist either. You have to be somewhat critical of what you're doing.
I have two more. So Ian says, I'm a new artist, so what type of pencils do you use, which I know we showed.
Yes.
How do you blend them and try to make it fade? How do you blend them and try to make it fade?
Oh, okay. So I almost always work with a 2H pencil, and I'll literally work that for the entire drawing, and then I'll go back into it. I'll do an HB pass. So areas that I know are going to be darker, like in this drawing, the rib cage I knew was going to be the darkest, and his head. So then I would go in with an HB, darken it, and kind of fade it out so that the 2H still reads well. And then after I do that everywhere, I take a 4B, 6B, or a 9B, depending on how dark I really want it to get, and I'll really punch the dark values so that it is a stark contrast, and then it creates this very visual difference in between the lighter values that you added to your drawing and the darker ones. And this, to me, was also one of my favorite drawings of the year, because not only is it weird, I think it speaks a lot to myself as an artist, trying to be different and strange and incorporate things that are somewhat inspired by like Renaissance artists. So having like these cherubs, but then putting kind kind of macabre fantasy twist on it. And my influence for this also was BioShock. I love the idea of the little sisters and what they represent. So I like the idea of the story of this fallen god or whatever being this was, and to have all these little death angels come and pin. Basically, they push the pin into them or into the bones, and it releases the energy or the soul that is held within. And I like the idea of these death angels, like, gnawing at it with these pins, and it's violent but kind of cute. It has this weird sort of mix of it's haunting but also intriguing. So to me, this was really fun to draw. It was very strange drawing like baby butts, and drawing like a lot of baby butts. But I realized as I was looking at references of like 16 and 1700 year artists, they draw a lot of naked people, like a lot of naked people, and a lot of children.
I was a little cherub. Baby.
I was like, if an artist nowadays just drew like a naked 13-year-old, I think it would be seen in such a different light than it was back then. Where now it would be very much like, no. But I think back then it was seen as a form of art. But I understand why that has changed so much. And I think we do kind of have to respect it a little bit. I still think art should be limitless, but I think there's some things where you're like, maybe not. And to be honest, I've never had an intuition of like, yeah, I want to draw this child, but I'm going to have them naked. I was like, no. But I think a cherub, I think it's cute because a naked baby's fine. I don't think, or at least for me thinking of it, I'm like, it's fine. And they have all these like fun little lumpy shapes that you can add in, like these really kind of bloated bellies against like these chubby knees and legs. So it was kind of fun to draw. And this was another one of those where I just needed to trust my intuition. And this was also done, November? This was for a giveaway drawing. Yeah. And that's why I really think my November, December were the best months for me.
Oh, that was the one you had the little...
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I would have forgot. Thank you, Josh. So the sketches that I did earlier of the little cherub death angel babies, 3 months later, turned into these. So you can kind of see how, I actually like the thumbnail better, but that's how it always is, right? Yeah, so you can see how sometimes you'll have an idea and it won't come to fruition until, not even just months, it could be years later. And there are times, and I'll show you at the end, don't let me forget, I want to show that one.
Oh, that's right.
Because that drawing, I love it so much, but I don't have the full confidence in myself in the ability I have currently to finish it, which sounds really strange, but I kind of know myself where I'm like, yes. And throughout 2020, I'm going to work on the Hollow Queen, which I'll show at the end. And same with my 5-foot drawing, which you can see in the corner. I'm going to officially start working it again today. I'm not going to put an hour every day. I'm going to do a half hour every day because I have to start working on a secret project that I guess I can let you guys know because it's just like a little intimate gathering here. But I'm working on an original card deck, and I have to finish it by April. So I have to draw 12 Royals, 2 Jokers, and then 4 Ace cards in the back of the card in the box. But I'm very excited for that, and that's going to be absorbing my time along with the commissions I have to finish the next 3-4 months. And I might do some of them live. I actually was thinking, what if we did some of the idea generating for the Royal cards, like live? And we could just do each of them, and I'll tell the story I've kind of created for them, and if they have elements that they think would be cool. Because I've done it before where that's how the collector was born, and that's how some of the mermaids were born. So I was like, yeah.
Well, then you get good feedback too, because I think you want to make them practical at the same time also. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I actually want to play with the cards. Like, I love Wiley Becker's deck, but we tried playing multiplayer solitaire, which is a speed game, and it's nearly impossible to distinguish the spade and the heart, and they're such a similar color too that I think they're gorgeous. The best card deck I've seen illustrated, but playing with them for a speed game was not as functional. Okay, this one I did for DragonCon. We wanted to do an exclusive print, and I made the fire and the steam. Or no, we didn't make the steam. It was just the fire. Yeah. And then the little fireflies. And it was like a little dragon hatchling. I've wanted to draw a dragon for DragonCon for, I want to say, a year now. And I still want to do a really big one. And I think I'm going to do a bigger one this year. I was telling Josh my idea with this really long, very Eastern-inspired dragon. But this one was just a little dragon hatchling, very Western-style dragon. And I actually really like how this one turned out. It's so simple, but sometimes you'll be surprised on how simple drawings can give you that feeling of like, yes, like I had a concept in my head, and I felt like I put it onto paper as I saw it. So that one I liked.
Everyone was happy you had a dragon.
Yeah,
Wow.
expect more. I'm going to be doing another dragon in August, most likely. This was Denial. This one I did initially for Imagine FX. The idea was they wanted a 5-part series, and the first one was on, what was it, shading? No, line arts. It was on line art, I believe. And halfway through, I showed them a digital sketch of what I was planning, and Claire was sending me the editor-in-chief was like, oh, we didn't want something this elaborate, like really break it down in something simple. These are for beginner artists. So I kind of scrapped the whole idea initially, and for the tutorial, I literally just did the rabbit, basically, and it was just a line art version of the rabbit. But I liked my big sketch so much that I decided that I was going to keep it. And I had no idea what the 5 symbols were going to be, so I was going to let the story kind of be told to me as I was drawing it. And I decided, as I was working on it, that I was trying to think of what comes in 5s. And there weren't many things that came to me until I thought of the 5 stages of grief. And I was like, well, does this drawing work that way? And the more I looked at it, I was like, actually, this is the perfect drawing for the first stage of grief, which is denial. Because not only does his face look very vacant and empty, but it kind of looks like he has a Mona Lisa smile, where you can't really tell if they're happy or not. And I liked the idea of the rabbit, which initially to me was like this injured creature that the boy was going to take care of. It kind of reversed, where this rabbit became the physical embodiment of pain and suffering and grief. And the boy is like carrying it as if it's nothing, as if it's weightless. And to me, that's denial. It's obvious to everyone else that you're carrying this, grief around with you, but you're not acknowledging it. And I was telling Josh, I'm not sure when I'll do the remaining 4 stages, but I think I'll do like maybe 1 a year. I don't want to force ideas either. Same with like the 7 deadly sins. And I don't want to start the astrological signs until I know I'm going to do all of them. Because if I do 1, I'm going to nonstop at cons. When are you going to finish the other ones? When are you going to do Libra? When are you going to do Virgo? When are you going to do Sagittarius? So I'm going to wait on that one. Because I was going to do Libra, and I was like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to finish this card deck first, because I don't want to just like dabble and like tease people with just one of a series. I want to actually do more. Oh, and really quick, this was also giving hints of like the gaudy, over-embellished style that I was really digging. But this I did in August.
This is kind of the start of a lot of them.
This was, good point. This was the start of my like Decadence series, if I want to call it that. So I actually really like this one. And I like how I did the shading on the rabbit with the 2H. It's primarily, for whoever asked about the shading earlier, the entire bunny is 2H, except for, see where it's like a little darker? That's an HB mechanical pencil, and that's it. I didn't go any darker than HB on this drawing.
All right, couple things.
Yes.
Felix says, how long did it take you to go professional with your art? Currently studying computer science, but I kind of feel like trying to go for art after I graduate, but it seems so daunting.
Professional is such a vague term in the art world, because I guess if you want to say a professional is someone who can rely financially on their work to make a living, if I had to say like what professional is, because some people would say, well, as soon as you get a freelance job, then you're professional. Or some people would say that professional doesn't exist in the realm of art, because sometimes there will be ups and downs in the art world, and it depends on where you're getting your income from. So for me, I was a teacher for 6 years out of college. So to me, I was seen as a quote unquote professional when I was 21. But to me, I was like, I'm definitely not professional. So I don't think you have to worry so much about the label. Just focus more on the work that you're creating, trying to make it the best that you can be. And my whole theme for 2020 is be better. And that's not supposed to be like a negative, like, you suck, be better. But it's more of like, what am I able to create? And then push yourself to push it even further. Like, be better than what you give yourself credit for. And then I think eventually if you create works that not only are you proud of, but you know that are like worth the quality that and time that you put into it, I think other people will respond to that. So focus more on your work and building the best portfolio you can. Okay. This one was a drawing I found from 5 years ago, and I decided to redraw it. I made it darker, and I don't know, I had fun at it. Drew this, Dragon Con?
Yeah.
Behind the booth? That was fun. This was, me and Josh watched all of RuPaul's Drag Race, the new season, and I loved Evie Oddly's witch outfit, so I drew it.
Evie Oddly was great.
I just realized it's 3:30. I'm like, oh my gosh, we only have a half hour. Like, I gotta kick it into full gear here. Nautical helmet. This one was actually really fun. I would say earlier last year I had more of like a nautical theme.
This was on the way back from Bahamas, right? That was February.
Yes, actually, yeah. And this, good call. This swan thing was in one of the stores that we saw in the Bahamas. So I took a picture of it and I drew it. And it was supposed to be like a hodgepodge of nautical embellishments. And I liked having like a coral reef. And I knew I was going to start this 5-foot drawing that was going to be all underwater and very intricate. So to me, this was like a little sampler of what's to come. And well, it's still in the process. You can't really see it too well, but it's back there. And I'm going to be working on it a lot in 2020. So I actually like that one. And then the clownfish has a lot of deep meaning for me. Whole nother stream, but I wanted to include a clownfish.
And it says also, or sorry, is digital art easier for you or traditional art?
The what?
Is digital art easier for you or traditional?
This is definitely one of those arguments that I think people get into with art, but I personally think digital is easier once you know the software, but getting to know the software takes like 3 months. I call it the 3-month hump. And not only are you learning how to draw with a tablet or a Cintiq for the first time, but you're also understanding and learning a software, whatever software you work with. So that can be a difficult learning curve. But with traditional, especially with the pencil, I can't do like a mass shading render where in Photoshop I could just pull up the gradient tool and point click and it creates an instant transition. Where for pencil you literally have to like slowly do it. I mean, some mediums are a little easier. Like if I was working with, not that paint's any easier, but if you want to do like big strokes, it is easier than if you work with a pencil. You're literally, how did Pete talk about it? Pete Morbacher, he's one of my friends. He called it something. It was like laser printing, or he's made it sound like, yeah, even if it is simpler in some ways, with pencil though, you can't do broad strokes. Like every little thing you have to do by hand. And honestly, it kind of comes down to the person. I've had some people tell me that pencils are incredibly difficult for them and that digital is easier. And then I've had other people where they're like, digital is the hardest thing I've ever tried ever. And it's so much more comfortable working with a physical medium. It's tangible. It's something I feel comfortable with. So it really comes down to the person. Me personally, I always found digital to be a little easier. But I enjoy working traditionally more. So yeah. This was my 200K giveaway drawing. And this one I also really loved. It was coming right off of the Earth Elemental pup that I showed earlier. And that's why the leaves and everything has such a graphic, non-rendered feel, because I really loved how it turned out in that drawing. So I wanted to carry that over into this one. And I wanted to draw a fantasy creature that wasn't, I always draw like really frail kind of creatures and very like mysteriously skinny creatures. So I was like, I'm gonna draw just like this buff boy. Just like this guardian of like the wood. But I want him to be seen as a very like humble, gentle giant. So that's what I was trying to create. And I definitely was pulling from Muka's stringy like leaves and foliage. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about a drawing I did this year that we didn't include. Could you go grab Vindication?
Yes.
Because I was drawing a lot of spaghetti hair, the angel.
You know, I know that. Do we have the original, or should I just grab a print of that one? I'm trying to think.
Do we have the original?
No, we don't. I'll grab the print.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
And I was in the mindset of drawing a lot of like spaghetti hair, as I called it. So that carried over into this one. So this one I had a lot of fun with. This one was Flora and Fauna. I did this behind Wisconsin Comic-Con booth. And you can kind of see same vein that I was drawing this foliage stuff in. All this like spaghetti string-like accessories. And a lot of swirly bits. I just had a lot of fun with this one. Not much to say besides I worked with a pencil that had a really dull stub because I didn't have a sharpener with me. And I was just working with it and realizing how much I can accomplish with a dull pencil. So that was a learning experience on that end. Yes, this is one of the ones I was most proud of. This one I did for ImagineFX early in the year. I call this one Vindication. You can see all the spaghetti hair. I was really fascinated by the idea of drawing a lot of spaghetti hair. And with her specifically, I mean, there's a whole story behind it, but I definitely wanted to draw a person of color. I wanted to draw them very majestic. I wanted it to be over the top, fantastical. And I hope the person that inspired this one finds me at a con, because I would like to give it to them. And yeah, I was really proud of the way some of the things in this turned out. I think if I redid it, I would probably redo the wardrobe a bit, as it looks just very much like crumpled cloth a bit. But I do like how I did the spaghetti here. It was fun. It took forever, but it was fun. This was my Mad Bellhop. I did this one in August. I really like the thumbnail I did of this little guy. I was going to do a whole series in October where every character was going to be a different employee in a hotel, and he was going to be the bellhop. And I was going to do like a bar tender. I was going to do the bell, or the clerk, the person behind the candy shop. That was going to be the devil, so I actually did do him. So yeah, I don't know. That was fun. I don't know, that one was okay.
Let's just do... Oh, Morgan says, is that a leer on her head? I love it. So strange that it's on her head, but it's so beautifully detailed. Which one is that? It's not...
I don't know, leer.
It's like the instrument. Here, I can get a picture for you.
Oh. I don't even know which one that was.
That might have been... I'm trying to think.
Yeah, you might have to tell us which one that was. All right, I guess while Josh is looking for that, this was actually, this was a drawing that became my most popular print at conventions, and initially it wasn't supposed to be anything more than just a mermaid drawing. I started the initial sketch on a live stream, and it was a very simple idea of just like a mermaid, and she was dressed in kind of this elaborate cloth, and it wasn't supposed to be anything more than that. But then when I drew her, I decided to include a halo like I always do, because it's convenient and kind of a cliche, but I like it. And then it just grew from there because I was studying Muka at the time, and it became this like big elaborate back halo, and it just became my most popular print. And a lot of people think this is much bigger. When I tell them it's a really small drawing, like if I hold it up to my head, it's about the size of my head, a little bigger. And I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, there's not much more I can say about it.
So I think, and actually, yeah, the Bubble Lord. Because yeah, if you look at that, though, it does. That's a really good catch. Because it does look like it, not intended. But...
I wouldn't even have caught that if they didn't say which print it was.
Yeah.
I could see it now though. So yeah, by accident, I just tried to draw like a warbly crown. This was one that I love very, very much. This was my blind confidence, because I feel like a lot of my life is going into things blind, and however it turns out, it turns out. The only thing is, there's a lot of, you can see the eraser marks where I did the helmet. It's the only thing that I wish I would have been a little more careful with. But everything else about it it started off my 2019 exactly how it should have been the entire year, where it was decadent, it was gaudy, it was very flowy and whimsical, and I felt like Lunar Mermaid kind of had a hint of that, and after Lunar Mermaid, I felt like you can kind of see it with like the Muka gaudiness, but after that one, I feel like I didn't do that decadent realm until November, except for Bubble Blower and Denial. But I feel like I should have done more of this throughout the year, because I was really enjoying this style, and I think it all started because of this one. So I love Blind Confidence. This one I liked more as an idea. My execution was it was all right, but I call this one Hothead. This idea of like a demon, but his face was the wick of a candle. And the flame and smoke that it was producing was encapsulating the skull. And I like the idea of like he's surrounded by this wax that's melting, and it kind of creates this majestic, not crown per se, but what's the collar, like a very elaborate collar. And I did my best at doing like little Alan Williams swirls. I really messed up with the hands though. It looks like, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. So yeah.
I like Candle Boy.
Yeah, I wish I would have taken more time with the hands. That's the only one where I liked it at the time, but looking at it now, I'm like, no, I should have done more with the hands. This was a study of a figure that I got at my favorite Halloween store in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. I think it's called From the Heart.
From the Heart, yeah.
And I just wanted to draw it because I was going to sell the original, and that way I could justify buying, I think it was $50. It was expensive. I was like, ugh.
Gotta make it back somehow.
And then here was the other drawing that I did where it also was in the gaudy realm. And this one I did in May. So I guess there was one more in that line. But this one I call Death by Decadence. And I always, when I was drawing this one, I thought of a person that when they're telling you stories and everything's just so dramatic. And like it could just be something as simple as like you woke up and you went to start wherever coffee shop and they gave you the wrong shot of espresso or whatever it is, and like as they're telling it, it just sounds like they're so dramatic. So I imagine like them pulling this like giant sword and then like, oh, the agony of being alive. But meanwhile they're like dressed in like this fantastical rich god of wealth, and it was like me once again kind of poking fun at decadence and like being gaudy. So
I mean, I can be like that sometimes. I won't lie.
It was my yearly picture of Josh.
Just a little dramatic.
This was my Pearl Mermaid. I actually like this spaghetti hair more than I did my Vindication one, because when I decided to go dark with the Vindication in the hair, I covered up a lot of the lines. And in this one, you can kind of see, let me see if I can refocus. You can see the lines a bit more clear up close. And I liked that I was okay with things being strange, like having this very long negative space section here, and even with her shoulder wrap and how it kind of leads to nothing. And I think it was a good piece. It's not as like decadent or as cleanly finished as my Lunar Mermaid one, but this was another like me getting ready to do the 5-foot drawing, and I just wanted it to remind myself that it doesn't have to be realistic all the time. So that was that one. Ooh, we're getting near the end, guys. So this was a redraw of a drawing I found, I think, God, I want to say like 3 years ago. It was in a sketchbook, and it was just essentially like the eyes, a little bit of the face, and then kind of the horns. I decided to work this one behind another convention booth. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I've done so many drawings behind a booth at a con, just because if I'm going to be there, I might as well be working too. This one I really enjoyed the process of. It was kind of a mix of my love for Final Fantasy, specifically Lulu and Edea from Final Fantasy VIII, kind of mixed with Ultimecia a bit, and same with Cloud of Darkness from Final Fantasy III. So just kind of pushing all these like witchy sorceress elements into one really kind of a simplified drawing. I'm not going to even pretend like it has the ethereal effect that those characters had, because it's just like a bust shot. But I did like the elements that I was throwing in, and it felt good, especially around the eyes. And I liked how the face was so blank. Something I want to experiment with more. Okay, really quick, I wanted to show...
Wait, I get this one over here too. Do you want to do a couple questions really quick?
One?
Are you good? That one.
Yes, that one's going to be the very end.
Okay, very end.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do... Amy says, when can I come visit you?
Actually, we're having kind of a small party after Anime Milwaukee. I don't even know if Sean wants me telling everyone this, but we're having like a Mario and Sonic at the Olympics day. So, and he said that everyone's more than welcome to come. He actually wants more people there. So I guess if you want to join that.
Alex says, can you link your mentions at the end? We'll try to remember. I know there's the Muka book. There's a couple things. I'll get better next time too as you were going.
I should have given you this. So it's like Muka. We have to link the artist that does the cat.
That's I was trying to look at that. I was trying to find that Instagram. I could not.
I'll find it.
I don't know how to. Yeah, where to start with that.
I should have given that you at the beginning. Really quick, while you're finding another artist, I just wanted to say this was a collaboration that's not done yet between me and Andrew Thompson. He's an artist that I have gotten to be close friends with over the past year. He's a great guy, and we wanted to do a collaboration. So it's not quite finished, but I will see him next weekend for OhioCon. So we're hoping to finish it there. So stay tuned for the finished result of this one next week.
Fem says such a shame because I really love the story of the bunny and the boy.
Oh, like finding
There's because I know in that one stream you were building up the other story and then it all got
it got jumbled together.
Yeah. Ian says, I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions, but how does your ideas come? For me, if I watch a movie or any documentary, I get inspired and try to make a twist to develop my art.
Yeah, similar. I feel like a lot of the times I get inspired by things that happen to me. Even with like the Decadence stuff that I've been dabbling in, it's because I've been so inspired by Muka and artists of the turn of the century, and try to absorb as much of your environment from pop culture to film to games to animation to fashion, and especially other artists. Don't just look at artists that are alive, look at artists from years back, and you'll know what inspires you and what you'll pull from to create your own taste, and that'll affect the way that you draw and you create. And don't put too much pressure on it. Let it come natural. If you really like drawing eyes, like I draw all my eyes. Let me see if I can find a close-up one. I draw all my eyes like Kingdom Hearts eyes. And no one almost ever calls me out on it either. But I almost always do, let's see if I can focus here for a second. I almost always do a double ring eye. And it's just because I really loved how it looked in Kingdom Hearts. And I didn't care that I was getting made fun of a little bit in college for how I would draw eyes. But even actually this one, you can kind of see it too. But I always do a double ring. And these are like small decisions that add up to what will create your style. Because as much as people are like, oh, my style is all my own, like, no, usually your style is just heavily borrowed over many, many years of looking at artists and culture and art and film. And you just create this Frankenstein sense of what you enjoy personally based on your taste, and that's what creates your style. I would not have my own style if it wasn't for other people creating things. And that's why I always give a lot of gratitude to other artists that are still really caring and passionate about their projects or movies or games that really feel like it was more than just trying to make money to support themselves. Kind of like Edith Finch I played last year, and I thought that game was phenomenal. But you can kind of tell that the game it's hard to market. It's hard to even advertise as like something you can experience with your friends. It's one of those games though, when you play it, you're like, that was a unique experience I'll remember the rest of my life, and I find that inspiring. And then me leaving Edith Finch wanted me to create something that was original and new, and it didn't necessarily have to be anything from the game specifically, but just the idea of trying to be better. And I think that's why I locked kind of that idea in for this year. Okay, really quick, I wanted to show the pages of my swordplay novel that I'm working on. These are definitely ones that I edit myself in Photoshop, because oftentimes I want the levels to be higher. I have to try to work on these quicker because I'm trying to be faster as an illustrator, and oftentimes I'll write the entire story digitally, so I'll handwrite it in Photoshop. But I think I'm gonna switch it to, I'm gonna create my own font for the actual book because I realize how much time that actually takes. But sometimes if you see things that are a little edited or pushed, it's because I'm pushing them around in Photoshop. But usually it's pretty close to the final. So here was the first page of Nate with his parents arguing. I like the idea of him being trapped behind bars, and that's like a theme that is consistent throughout his backstory. I have a YouTube video actually about him specifically in his first 3 pages or 2 pages. No, I think it's his first 3 pages. So you can actually watch that if you're interested in this story. So the second page, is this one. This is where he meets Harry. And if you can remember if you were here at the beginning of the stream, these are the 2 characters that are very present in Nate's specific arc. And Nate's a very I call him the Zuko of my story, if you guys have seen The Last Airbender. And I've really connected with Nate on some levels, but I think Harry is my other personality, where it's just very like goofy, doesn't really take things seriously, a little privileged, and doesn't really know like the harder side of life. So having these 2 characters meet and interact, I think would just be very interesting for having a kid that's kind of well off, meeting this kid kind of on the wrong side of the tracks, and for them to become very, very close. And that was where I wanted Nate's backstory to go. You can see here, this is when his grandmother passes away. It's not really a spoiler. And then you can see Harry kind of comforting him through Metro City. These are the hardest things for me to draw. environments are just crazy hard. That's why this page took me forever, because I hate drawing environments. But you know what? It's good. It's good that I'm doing what's hard, because I can't just be comfortable my whole life.
I love your designs though. For them are great.
Well, thank you. I definitely am pulling a lot from Eastern and Western Europe, and I'm kind of like hodgepodging together.
Well, from Ren Fair, stuff like that.
Yep.
Even, yeah.
Well, that's a great example. When you go to places like Ren Fair, take reference pictures. You never know when that would be a great reference, or even like angle that you'll want to use in your work. So then this is when he has to leave his childhood home essentially and go into the city of the people that are like, in his mind, that's why they're kind of caricatures, because he sees them as like these larger than life villains, even though they're just people. And then here's him as like a full-fledged hustler, and I wanted kind of this little mini story. I'm experimenting more with how to tell a story visually, and then with the last page of his backstory, he's getting caught, and I wanted the coins kind of falling, but I like the idea of he was able to hold on to one, and I wanted the smoke from this page carry over into the smoke from this page. So if I did it right, when the book actually lines up, it should look like one giant smoke trail. And obviously the areas that are blank are for where I'm going to write the words. So yeah, that's Nate's backstory. And then this is a quick tattoo design I did for one of my childhood friends. He did the Iron Man, not the movie, the marathon. And it was in Wisconsin, so he wanted that. So then the very last thing, if you could grab that.
Oh, yeah. Don't step on anything.
Put these back in my highly secured lockbox that I got years ago.
This one gets a little progress.
Yes. So this one I started 2 years ago. This is my Hollow Queen. So you can kind of see that it's still not near being complete, but I really liked how I rendered the smoke area in here.
Lift it to get like the full
Could
scale
you?
of it, yeah. Be very gentle here.
To me, this is the best rendering I think I've done if I was being like critical of myself, because it's very tight. It's very small sections of value and contrast that I'm trying to control on a larger scale. I started doing the arm and I started playing with different effects that I could play with it. I think I'm just in that mindset where I could do this properly, but since I'm going to be so distracted with the cards that I have to finish before April, I don't see myself working on this until the summer. So maybe by this Halloween, I can finish my Hollow Queen. We'll see. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. And I can't really show the 5-foot drawing without ripping it off the canvas. It's too big and my camera's too small. But I could show you, no, this is a Patreon exclusive. I'm going to keep it that way. So if you want to see what the 5-foot drawing looks like, that's going to be for my Patreon people only. Okay, I think that is... Oh, you know what, really quick, let's show the totes and the blankets.
Yep, yeah. So the tote's right behind you.
So the other two things that I was really proud of in 2019, I finally created my first reusable tote bag. Let me turn this upside down. Ta-da! So it's made out of entirely recycled plastic bottles. It's got art on the sides, obviously. And then we got it on the inside, too. And this has been something I've been wanting to make for a while. I've been trying to make the whole brand of like Vonnart more green, and Josh has been excellent in helping me find these different companies that not only make green products but can put like art on it and create these really cool kind of visual, physical, practical items. And to me, I wanted to give something not away, but they could put their prints in it at a con. And then when they get home, they could use it as like a grocery tote. And I just love the idea of people taking something with my art on it that could help save like less on plastic. And they're using something that's reusable.
And they're amazing because they fit a lot more stuff than you think they do in them too. Because I think
they're wide.
They're so wide, yeah. That
it's kind of hard to show like on a video where I'm like, here's the bag. Here, do you see how big it is? But yeah. My little bottom.
I had a cart full of groceries the other day, and they all fit into that one bag. I was impressed. I had no idea.
I feel like I'm paying for you to advertise it right now.
Right.
They all fit magically.
They're amazing.
All right. So you guys get the first little glimpse of the blankets that I'm making. We're like double cameraing right now, but that's okay. So a few of you don't know this, but probably because a lot of you follow me for my pencil stuff, but I used to teach digital art for 6 years, and I drew a lot of my swordplay illustrations in color. So here are some of the examples of those. You know what? We can turn this first camera off now that I'm looking at it. Okay. So ready? Do we have all of them? Yeah.
Yep. I have the two
Alright.
over here too.
First reveal. Oh, you know what? Wait, we'll pull this back a bit. There we go.
Nice.
Okay, reveal number 1. This is Chase the Dreamer. Oh, I'm holding this upside down, aren't I?
Big reveal.
There we go. Ta-da! So these were still in the process of making. We're trying to find the right company. I really like the one how these turned out. So that's Chase. That's my. I want to save that one for last.
Okay. I have which one here.
This one is. I think this is Red. Yep. So here's my character Red. There you go. There we go. Ta-da! You can see how she turned out. Oh no!
Oh my.
Oh, I thought that was my mom at first. Who was that?
Oh.
I feel like that would be my mom playing me.
Didn't ring on your phone.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Interesting.
So here's Red. This is the bigger size blanket. So this one's really big. This one's 6.5 feet. So we're trying to figure out what size works best. And then...
I agree, Alex. The one.
What do you say?
The one trip ponies from loading groceries.
Oh, yeah. And then here is one of my pencil drawings. This is Lunar Mermaid, the one that you saw earlier. Ta-da! I've never done blanket reveals, so I'm not sure how to do these exactly. And then, where is Nate?
Nate's right here.
So this is personally my favorite one. So the backstory I just showed you, this is his color illustration turned into a blanket. He is there. Okay, and... Oh! Ta-da! So this one, I really like how he turned out because he has kind of like this bluish purple tint to him, and I thought the thread did a really good job. You can see here, I'll walk closer so you can kind of see what it looks like. So you can see how it has that, like a very, kind of like a Renaissance fair type of tapestry look to it. But I love how it turned out. So I'm very excited to put these on the store. These probably won't be available till late January. Yeah, just these 3 and then the...
Because we got Red, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Okay, shoot.
Okay. Oh, I think that's all we got for today then.
I know there's a couple questions we weren't able to get to.
Oh yeah, let's do that before we cut this out.
All right.
Actually, I'll switch back to the other one. Yeah, we'll take a couple questions and we're going to end this off.
All right.
You can kind of see a close-up of what it looks like.
I don't want to miss anybody. Clouds23X says, did you know those 2 mechanical pencils that you use? I bought one, and after a month I realized they automatically keep the lead out by slowly retracting the metal tube surrounding it.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Alex says, I've been thinking about switching from Clip Studio to getting an iPad and going for Procreate. Have you tried Procreate? Which iPad do you prefer?
I love Procreate, so that's what I work in the iPad Pro. I used to have the first iPad. That's the one that broke, so I had to get the new one. I actually like the old one better. I like the way that the pencil felt, but I like that it recharges on the side better. So I actually do like the new iPad Pro probably better in terms of convenience.
Oh, and then Femsing, this is in regards to denial. I actually meant to say that I was sad FX wanted it more simplified. I love the stages of grief turn it took. It's close to home
way.
Since this year is the 10-year anniversary of losing my mom.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, it was actually kind of a bummer when Imagine FX messaged me. And I was like, oh, I was gonna do like this big grand series and like, oh no, like keep it really simple. I was like, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of a. I remember when they were telling me what was the word. They said it was too good. And I was like, that's the weirdest thing to say to someone because usually that means they don't actually like what you're doing, but they don't want it to sound mean. I was like, I know what you're saying, but I'll take it instead.
Fem also says, I can't wait for the blanket.
Yes.
Fem says, I already have too many blankets, but you can count on that I will get a new one. They look so easy. You gotta just like layer blankets on top of yourself. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We're all good.
All good?
If I missed something, I'm so sorry. But it looks like, yeah, any of the tagged ones are good on right now.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the 2019 Vonnart Sketchbook Tour. Thank you, Josh, for helping mod the stream. And yeah, expect more streams like this in the future. And if you're curious about gold leafing, Josh and I will be back tomorrow for a gold leafing tutorial, and we'll take it from start to finish. So yeah, I think that's all I got. And thank you so much for coming.
Happy New Year.